Welcome to Energy is Currency, the Millennial Development Podcast devoted to helping you mind your business personally and professionally. My name is Alexis Williams, and I am your marketing consultant, idea generator, and mini modern philosopher, the entrepreneur that checks all the boxes, whatever that may mean. Subscribe to Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and iHeartRadio to listen to every gem in every episode. Season 1 is available on all streaming platforms. Welcome back to Energy is Currency. I am here with you, Alexis Williams, your favorite marketing maven. I do all the things. I am here today with a really special guest. I'm chatting with Norman Wolfe. He has been a marketing and CEO development consultant to some of the best organizations available. So we're going to pick his brain today and learn more about how to really transform leadership from the inside out. So I'm going to give him the floor. Norman, tell us what you want us to know about you, all of the good juicy details. Give us the deets.
Well, thank you, Alexis. Let me start by giving you a little bit of my background. I started with my career initially as a systems engineer, technical person, systems programmer, working for Pratt & Whitney, and then I moved over to Hewlett-Packard. Mm-hmm. And it was really my time at Hewlett-Packard that started to lay the foundation for what I would become 30, 40 years later. So I went for early in my career at HP, about 2 years in, I was invited to become a district service manager. Okay. And as a district service manager, I was running an organization that I didn't grow up in. In other words, I wasn't a service guy that became a service manager. I was from the sales and systems engineering side, and now I'm becoming head of service. I like to say the highlight of my career at HP was my first performance review as a district service manager was unacceptable in every category.
Oh, wow. You said unacceptable in every category?
Every category. I mean, I just got my review and I looked at it and it was like unacceptable. And I go, oh. I knew I was struggling. I knew I was struggling through my first year of management. But unacceptable was a little bit of a shock.
Yeah, I bet.
I was actually given some great guidance because my natural tendency would be to go back and doing what I was successful at. And I was mentored into staying with it, that they saw promise in me. And if I stuck with it, I'd figure it out. And so I did. And the reason that was so important, because I did not have the service repair technician mindset, if you will. I didn't come up from that organization. Mm-hmm. I couldn't lead from the place of I was successful doing what you're doing now, so follow me, which is a traditional leadership path.
Right.
I had to learn how to lead people. I had to learn how to run an organization. I learned how to motivate and really focus on the art and science of leadership.
I love this.
So that's the way my whole career at HP was. It set the stage for me to take a fresh look at what it is to run an organization. I continued to grow. I ended my career at HP as the region administrative organization. So $1 billion organization at the time with 17 branch offices and $1 billion in revenue and 1,300 people that were in my segment of the organization.
It sounds like your performance review improved.
It was let's just say my first meeting, the performance stats for that organization, of course, compared to the other regions, we were the worst in every category. I mean, I took over one of the worst performing organizations.
Oh, no, you had the bad news bears, huh?
And again, it really helps set the stage for me, because the question is, how do you take a poor performing organization. Again, I didn't grow up in the administrative organization, so I was responsible for functions I had no knowledge about.
Yeah.
And how do you turn it around? How do you make it a top performing organization?
What
A
was
lot of the things I came up with were really intuitive.
yeah.
I didn't have a blueprint to follow. I just knew that these were good people wanting to do a good job, but were so for some reason collectively they weren't performing well.
Yeah.
So I began to look at what makes an organization successful and why. And after 3 years, it became the best performing, not only in the country but in the world. And yeah, so I was really proud of that. And 2 years after that, successful. So I was in that position, I think 5 years, 6 years. When all of a sudden I was like, okay, now what's next for me? And the decision was to leave HP,
Okay.
to go out on my own, to
Okay.
leave the now almost 20 years in corporate America to see if I can swim in the oceans of entrepreneurship. And the thing I felt I can contribute the most was all the leadership learning I had working through my career at HP. Perhaps that knowledge and experience could help other leaders. So I began to consult. I didn't know anything about consulting. I kind of struggled through the first few years, but here I am 30 some odd years later and still consulting. So um, in the whole period from 1988 till about 2002 was a period of, I call it opportunistic consulting. I tried a lot. I consulted. I helped in a lot of different areas. I didn't have a specialty, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't a sales consultant. I wasn't a marketing consultant. I did all of that, but I wasn't a specialist. In 2002, I was talking to one of my clients who I was working with on and off for well over a decade by that time. And I asked him, why do you keep hiring me as a consultant? And his response brought focus to my work and to my life. He said, Norman, it's easy. You help me execute faster.
Mm.
And then I realized that's really what I've always been interested in, helping organizations execute better, right? Get the results we say we want. And when he said that, I began to rebrand myself, remarket myself. Quantum Leaders was that name was chosen back then, and I had the tagline, Quantum Leaders Executing Strategy. Um, but then I began to realize or discover, I should say, that um, uh, all the big consulting firms and academia was pointing to the fact that 70% of companies fail to execute their strategy.
Mm-hmm.
And that made me very curious as to why, because the knowledge we have, the learnings I had throughout 20, 30 years by that point in time, um, we should be doing better, right? There's no end of knowledge. I look behind me, the bookcase of books on leadership and motivation and psychology and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the answers are all there. So why aren't we doing better? And that's when I discovered what I call the paradigm trap,
Ooh.
and that began to sort of set the stage for what came later. Um,
What is
organization,
paradigm trap? What is that? Let's spend some time on that. What is the paradigm trap?
you know, I was introduced to the notion of paradigms during my HP career back in the late 70s. And it's the idea that we all create a mental framework, a mental model, a paradigm about
Mm-hmm.
how life works and how we can be successful.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a certain mental model about what a company is, what an organization is.
Okay.
And it was designed back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And it shapes the organization as a machine, a black box that takes inputs and produces outputs.
Mm-hmm.
And all of the theories about how to be effective as an organization is really based on that fundamental mental model. And the leader's role is to design that box and make it operate as efficiently as possible.
Okay.
People then just become simple component parts. I need 5 salespeople. I need 3 admin support people. I need 5 engineers. I go to the big back box store of employees called Indeed or any of those places, and I've got my spec sheet of what I'm looking for, and I go up the sales aisle. I go, oh yeah, I need 1 of those and 3 of those, and I plug them into my machine, and we set the strategy. We tell them what the goals are, and off it goes, and we're done.
Right.
Except we're not,
Yeah, that sounds perfect, but I don't
doesn't it?
see it very often.
And I would absolutely love for life to be that way. I mean,
That
that's
directed,
simple.
right?
It's logical. It's cause and effect. It's process flow. But organizations are not machines, and that's where the idea of my book came from. It's the notion that a collective of people that come together for a common goal, they actually create or give birth to a living entity called the organization, the team,
I,
the marriage. It doesn't matter. It's when people come together, there's like a third entity or an umbrella entity that operates together collectively as if it's one entity. And so, with that idea in mind, I began to ask the question: well, if an organization operates and behaves like a person, how does a person create outcomes?
okay.
Right?
Okay.
Now we're going to get into your
This where
favorite topic.
good stuff. Okay.
It's really understanding that we're creating an outcome is a transformation of energy from one form to another.
See, even the dogs agree. Like everybody in agreement on how powerful that statement is. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. That's the whole purpose of the show. Like that was like the bingo mystery phrase. Okay, so
So if you think about it, physics teaches us that everything is energy, and energy cannot be created or destroyed.
it cannot.
Okay? So almost by definition, anything we create has to change energy from one form to another, from an
True.
idea or a vision to a product, right? There's something that goes on in that process. And the question was, how do we do that? Well, if it's a machine, clearly you have inputs that's going to get transformed through a process of changing those inputs, changing the energy of it into another form.
Yeah.
But people operate differently.
Ooh.
People have 3 fields of energy, if you will, as I like to call them.
Okay, let's listen.
3 fields of energy that take a one form, say an idea, and transform it into another, say an outcome, a result. And those energy fields are what we do, who we do it with, and the underlying context or mindset or mental model that defines how we're going to respond to life events. So let me take them apart for you and go through one at a time.
Okay.
The activity is easy. That's our daily behaviors, our doing, right? We plan, we set goals, we get up in the morning, we go on the computer, we do research through AI, we do stuff, right? And that's the energy of activity. Very important, and we definitely want to optimize it. So the machine paradigm, if you will, of optimizing activity is absolutely still a critical element.
Okay.
And if we were a machine, that's all we have to worry about, but we're not.
Oh
And
no.
here's the other one. So relationships. Think about how active you are, how your activity changes when you're in a very loving, supportive, appreciative environment, relationship.
Yes. Yes.
Energy goes up. I don't know why, but energy just gets expanded. It's like I feel more alive to do this and do that, and it just
They call that the
think
pep in your step. You got a little extra pep in your step.
that's right.
Yes.
Some people call it synergy. When a team begins to mesh together, the energy just goes up. It's amazing.
Oh yeah, I
But you
love
think about it the other way. Something as simple as you leave home and there was a conflict with the kids or with your spouse or whatever, you carry that with you, and your energy, your activity goes down. So it works both ways, right? A
that.
team that's always in conflict is so busy focusing on the dynamics of the relationship that it trumps or overlays what we do.
Yeah.
And so our activity goes down, and therefore the results go down. So you got activity energy and you got relationship energy. And then there's this third one we call context, but you can think of it as the governing principles that cause us to choose behaviors through various events.
Ooh, now we're talking about the subconscious.
You can call it the subconscious. I like to call it the psychic DNA. And the reason
Ooh, I love that
the
even.
reason I choose psychic DNA is um, our bodies and all of living systems respond to life's events
Hmm.
um, based on, you might call it, our genetic coding.
You could even call it epigenetics. I think that's more of the study of how your genetics are passed down, but the environment, the experiences,
Yep, all of that. That's right.
Okay, I love this. I love this.
So you can think of it like the operating system of how we respond.
Yes.
But humans, unlike other living systems, have another layer on top of our genetic coding, and I call it our psychic DNA or psychic genetics.
I like
And the reason it's because we create meaning out of experiences. So we have an experience, we go, what does that mean? And we create a story, a narrative about what that means. And
right.
we associate that story with a behavior that will get us the results we want. So I have an experience, I have I don't know, conflict with my brother, right?
Okay.
I go, oh, that means this, and therefore I should behave this way, so I get the kind of results I want in my life, right? Or I have a breakup in a relationship, or I get fired from a job, or I get a performance review that's unacceptable. I mean, all of these life experiences, we create narratives around them and associate a behavior, and that becomes our mental model, our operating system.
In yoga, they call that the wheel of suffering. And that's when there's an experience, right? We're constantly having experiences, but once we attach ourselves to it or identify with it or overly, as overly define it, now we're burdened with it to your point
That's
of
right.
energy being able to move up or
That's right.
down.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, I
We,
gotcha.
we work to in psychology, it's often called the ego state, right?
Yes.
We have this ego that we want to protect and defend, and it's just the narratives of our lives that we have created to make us feel safe and successful.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's nothing wrong with that. As a matter of fact, it's what makes us highly efficient in responding. When we go to the supermarket, we don't have to think, oh, what does this mean, and how should I behave? It's we go and we have an interaction and we respond, and and life is good
Yeah.
up until the point when we feel the tension that our behaviors aren't getting the results we want.
Ooh, up until the moment that you experience the tension of not getting the results you want.
Now you've got two choices. Most of us try to make the world fit back into our mental model.
Ooh,
This person isn't behaving right. I blame that one for this. The problem is that thing over there. We're trying to explain why we're not getting the results because of what's happening out there.
right.
Instead of just stopping and saying, I've created this story, this narrative, what you were talking about earlier. I have an attachment to this belief system.
Am I the drama? Am I the drama? Is that what we're saying? Am I creating the drama in my head? I simply refuse to believe that. I simply
Yeah,
refuse. But that is
that's not me.
absolutely what's going on.
Can't be me. It's got to be all of them out there.
It has to be everyone else.
Absolutely.
I
Uh,
love that, but there's a certain level of accountability that people don't want to take
that's right.
because
That
once they realize that they made up a story about this, then their brain goes through and picks up all the other stories, and now we're in this free fall of internal account. Have I always been doing this? Has it always been? And now you're on this apology tour, but it's about learning how to let go of these things.
yes.
Making the ego feel that, because I've definitely tracked with everything that you're going through. That moment that you realize, oh, I'm the drama. Oh, but also how to live after that moment when you're like, okay, so now that I realize this is something that I'm doing, I can address it from a space of, okay, hey, I'm having an experience. I'm putting a lot of meaning to it. Is it something I need to remain attached to, or can I free myself of this? And that requires a lot of maturity.
It's a maturity thing, and that's a key element to it. Is and you said letting go. It's a funny thing. It's there's a I look at it as the mental model is the box we live in,
Yes.
right? And the goal isn't to replace the box; it's to expand the box. So
Ooh.
one of the reasons we have difficulty letting go is because we feel like literally the psychological experiences we feel like we're going to die because our mental model
Ego death.
sustains us. It helps it's our identity. It's who we are. It's and if we're going to have to change it, change usually means giving up. But if you think about it, as you're not giving up anything, who you are now still has that little girl that was 8 years old somewhere in your life. She's still in there. You didn't give her up. She
Show.
didn't die. She just went into a bigger, she became part of a bigger you.
Like the Russian nestling dolls.
That's exactly right. That's a beautiful metaphor. Exactly right.
I
So
love that.
maturity is I think of it like the Ken Wilber's definition of evolution.
Hmm.
We add on to and expand. The reptilian brain is still in there,
Yeah.
but we've expanded it and added the prefrontal cortex. We haven't killed off. It's not gone. It still plays a role in our life.
Yeah.
So we become a bigger person. And if you mature, you have a bigger mental model that
I,
can take in more of the complexity and more of the uncertainty of life and deal with it very effectively because you've got more resources. So
I love
it, that's the big challenge. But most of us, like you said, we're geared towards protecting that box.
it. So, have you heard the phrase? It's such a popular phrase online, to be petty.
uh,
So people say, "Oh, I'm a petty person. I'm gonna act petty. I did the petty thing, right?" And it's a
wow.
play on words from the French phrase "petite," which means small.
Yes.
So, to the
Very good.
point of what you're saying, maturity is about expanding and growing, but a
Yes.
lot of us overly identify with remaining small. So,
That's right.
anything that challenges your lack of space, because you refuse to give yourself space, because you're the only person that's in between the resistance of expansion or not, but that remaining, that pettiness, that petiteness, everything feels like a challenge because you didn't have space,
Absolutely.
you did not
Absolutely.
allow space to begin with. And I think that is so important. Can I share? So
Yes.
I have a
Cool.
story. I have a friend, I have a best friend, and I just love her dearly. I can't wait for her to hear this episode, right? So my friend has been, she and I both started in the cosmetology industry 20 years ago, literally to the date, and got our licenses. We both own salons, and now we're in our late 30s. We're transitioning into different careers. So she's had the beautiful opportunity to work with Delta in various departments, and so she's decided I want to become a pilot. She started off, very privately funding everything. So she is a licensed pilot now, right? But but it doesn't feel big enough for her, and it isn't big enough for her. So she has been accepted into this glorious scholarship program with Delta to become a commercial airline pilot. And I'm
Um,
just like cheering her on. I'm at the finish line already. I'm like, girl, we're doing it. We're going to have a celebration dinner. And so they told her, you're going to have to let go of like your free seats. Like, Delta employees get basically free seats. And I'm sure I'm saying this all wrong. But the way that they're able to fly with company benefits, that's what I'm trying to say. So her company benefits are going to change very drastically. And it just vexed her so bad. It just tore her up inside. And I had a conversation with her and I said, friend, do you want to just sit on any plane, any seat on the plane, or do you want to sit on the seat on the plane? Which one do you want to experience? How big are you willing to allow yourself to become? And it's going to require you to let go of something that was beneficial, that you enjoy. You're going to have to sacrifice something, but the seat will always be better than just any seat. And so I made her write it down as an affirmation. And then I also said, hey, write this affirmation down too. I said, the affirmation goes like this: I will never miss a flight, and a flight will never miss me. So
uh,
yeah, you're giving up. Yes, of course, you're giving up this thing, this very comfortable, beneficial thing. Yes. However, you won't ever miss your blessing as long as you're willing to expand.
that's
So,
beautiful.
I'm so excited.
That's a lovely and a great story because as you're telling it, I'm thinking about all the things I had to give up, and even this year, I recognize.
Mm-hmm.
So I wrote the first book, and published it in 2011. I
Mm-hmm.
just finished writing the second book, and it's going to be coming out in September 1st of this year.
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank
Wonderful.
you, and I realized that 2026 was going to be a new year for me. I'm going to be invited into the seat, as you just saw.
Yes.
But I had to recognize that there was a little bit of a trepidation, a little fear of playing that big,
Yeah.
and I had to look at. Now I could have done things mentally, said, "Oh yeah, really cool," but unconsciously this fear was going to end up sabotaging me
Mm.
because I was going to hold on to. I don't want to be that big. I'm afraid of this and this and this. I'm afraid of people judging me, or I'm afraid of whatever. And so I chose consciously to say, you know what, I'm going to give up playing small and allow myself to play big. It's safe where I am, but I'm going to take the risk to play big.
Big
Uh,
Norman.
yeah, and I think we all go through that place of choice thousands, if not millions, of times in our lives.
Absolutely. I remember I remember those moments of self-sabotage and experiences that I prayed for, that I begged for, that I worked hard for. And the remorse, the resentment, the guilt, the shame, it didn't
All of
make
it.
me better. It held me hostage to that experience. So
Yes, yes, yes.
I had to learn how to enjoy myself. And I mean that very, 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 very literally and intentionally and almost delusionally. I don't know if you've noticed yet, but I got a pinch of delusion about me. But the delusion allowed me to, because I just went through a really fun group experience. And in the group experience, I used to be very focused on the details and making sure I did it
Hmm.
right and the technical
Hmm.
skills of it and the performance of it, but I wasn't bringing joy to the experience. And
Back to
what
the
I
energy.
realized when I prioritized joy, that the details would come to me. People were going to make sure I was there because they enjoyed me, because I enjoyed myself. People
Yes,
made sure I was on time. They cared if I was there or not because they wanted to enjoy that spirit of joy too. So it shaped the synergy and the interactions of the whole experience for me and others People made sure I crossed the finish line this time, as opposed to me trying to prepare and race my way through the program. The race ended and it became a journey and an experience. And
Absolutely.
prioritizing joy, I know it sounds delusional and unprepared, but that is some of the most
Actually,
serious work.
actually, it is great wisdom to be able to do that. Go back to what we
Ooh,
talked
you
about.
said Greek wisdom? Oh my goodness, Norman.
Go back to what we talked about, energy, right?
Yes.
So when you're in the energy of doing this, there's a lot of mental energy happening and a lot of details and a lot of activity, but you're not bringing to the table a very important energy. So again, remember three fields of energy: activity, relationship, and context.
Mm-hmm.
It's that context energy that
Mm-hmm.
often I call it, use the term the mental model, but it's also our state of being.
Yes.
And our state of being could be anxious, and that's usually what happens when we get caught up in activity. Have I thought about all the things? Have I figured it out? And so there's almost an inherent anxiety energy associated with activity.
But that
But when you
fight or flight
get in,
energy is horrible to your nervous system.
that's
That
right,
constant anxiety, it just
absolutely, and that gets in our way. If I get into that place of joy, love, bliss,
willingness,
grace,
curiosity. Yes.
now we're not we eliminate the worry energy
Mm-hmm.
and we infuse it with our intentionality, what we
Yep.
want to create. And the universe takes care of us, just like you said.
It sure
People
does.
show up, things show up. Oh, I forgot that, but that's okay. I can do it here. There's just a flow, right?
Yes.
You get into that zone, as some people like to say. And so, not only looking at how we have our mental models, but looking at our state of being, and you combine those two things where you're looking at why am I thinking the way I am, and why don't I just choose things like energy of joy,
Yeah.
energy of love, energy of grace, and life changes dramatically when you change your state of being.
Yeah.
Mahatma Gandhi had a wonderful phrase he used: "Be the change you want to see in the world."
Yes.
People don't always understand that. It starts with the be. Who
Yeah.
are you being? And whoever you're being, that's what you will experience in the world.
I don't think people understand what being means and the committed obligation of being and the identities we attach. So it's
All
even
of
funny. The
that.
first phrase that I thought of was, "Are you being a brat?" You know what I mean? Are you existing on the frequency of brattiness? You know what I mean? Are you being a butthead or whatever phrase you want to insert? That's what you're going to experience. So you have to be very careful with what you identify with.
Yes.
So, even
Yes.
saying "I am anxious" puts you in the belief state and in the frequency and in the beingness of anxiety. It
I
sh-
love that you I love that you keep using the term frequency, because if you really think about what humans are, we're really, and I just heard a interesting speech or presentation by Greg Braden, where he talks about this at the very cellular level.
Mhm.
We are just the antenna.
Yep.
We are generating energy and we're receiving energy.
Yep. That's it.
And so when you think about the state of being, it's what energy are you transmitting? And the way to understand that and is to look at what emotions are you carrying in the moment. Because our emotions, and we talk about joy, if you look at the work by David Hawkins, I believe, in the
I
book
have
Power and Force,
his books.
yeah, he,
Yeah,
he doesn't
I have Power versus Force. I read so okay. Sorry to interrupt. I
he talks about. I mean, he's literally measured what is the frequency of the different emotions we
yes,
have.
yes.
So the emotions we carry are the energy field that's going to end up manifesting the results we have.
I can always tell when someone has read a David Hawkins book. I heard you said it about 2 or 3 minutes ago, and I was like, "Yep, he knows. Norman knows. Norman knows." I talk about David Hawkins very, 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 very often on the podcast because, to your point, to your whole structure and success is how do we make a tangible structure out of such intangible things? And the way that the scales of energy has put emotions into vibrational frequencies, you can't unsee that. And
No.
once you learn about that scale, you're like, no, you're at a 60. I'm not gonna touch you. Oh, they're curious. They're at a 300 now. Okay.
Yeah.
They're at reason. They're at 400. And I hate that people, now they know how I'm judging them. I'm being very discriminating. But but I'm following the frequency and I'm
So,
accountable for the frequency too. So if
yes.
there are things that to your set, you have to be what you want to experience. So I've been very, 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 I kid you not, I began all of my year, every year since 2020. Each year, I start off the year with one of his books. So I'm
Oh,
on
wow.
I have 4 books. I read a few of them twice. Um,
Wow.
but he gets the beginning of my year. That's how I set the tone for how we experience the year because I used to start my year with a plan and a strategy session, and we're gonna do it like this. And I'd have very elaborate vision boards, and it would be so detailed and so structured. And I would be miserable if it did not happen at the end of the year. And once I started reading his books, I stopped being able to plan in that context because I know that whatever I'm supposed to experience, as long as I have the energy I need for it, it'll happen.
It'll happen. Yeah.
Now, has that
Now here's the
five
here's the fascinating thing I
tell me
want to share with you and your audience. Take all the things we've talked about you and me and other individuals as an individual,
that.
and how we have to pay attention to context or the state of being, our energy fields, and all of that, and apply it to an organization.
Oh,
If an organization is a living person, and everything you and I just said and talked about is what leaders have to pay attention to as they lead organizations.
I got some homework to do now.
So there's a collective activity. I mean, think just what you said. You used to plan, structure, develop your strategy for the year. You had all your activity, blah blah blah, and now you do it differently. You still plan. You still have your desired outcomes, but you do it with a different context, a different state of being, your different energy field.
Yes.
It's the same thing that happens with organizations. We talked about how when our mental models don't work, we have a choice. We can either blame out there or look inside. Same thing with organization. They're not getting the results. They can talk about customers or marketplace or tariffs or this or that or the other thing.
Right.
But the real place to look is how is our mental model holding us back? And we have a collective mental model. And so everything we just talked about is applicable to an organization if you shift your own mental model about what an organization is and you see it as a living person. And my goal as a leader now is to mature, just like we talked about maturity before. I want to mature the organization so it has a bigger mental model, can deal with more complexity, doesn't depend on me, the parent, to tell them what to do. Right? They can stand on their own, and
Yeah.
we can have a different relationship of my role as seeing the future and their role of taking that and making it happen. It's a very different paradigm.
But I
And
love
that,
this approach. I think okay, I'm gonna project and assume that our general consensus about like corporate culture and capitalism is pretty sour right now. So it's refreshing to hear, and I think it's important to hear the possibilities for what organizations are going to do differently in terms of being more mentally intentional and more people centered. Okay, I have a question for you. How can we remain people centered during the takeover of AI? It's a hot
Oh,
topic.
wow.
If
That's
you're
one of my
ready.
favorite questions these days.
Oh, okay, okay, I'm listening.
So, the problem we have with AI today and its implications is because we see the organization as a machine,
Mm-hmm.
and people are components of the machine.
True.
And the goal of the machine, of the leader, is to optimize the machine.
Mm-hmm.
So, along comes a new tool. Let's put AI aside for a second. Along comes a new tool called robots.
Mm-hmm.
And gee, robots are more efficient than people. If efficiency is the only thing I care about, then
Mm.
I'll start replacing people with robots.
Okay.
We're doing the same thing with AI.
Right.
Because we're looking at the through the lens of optimization and efficiency, it's very logical to just draw the next step. AI is more efficient at doing this, this, and that.
Yeah.
And so we just replace people with AI. Boom, done. Now let's look at what AI really is. And let's look at sort of it in the context of human history because it helps understanding it. Throughout human history, humans have always worked to create tools that free them up.
Right.
Right? We created the wheel.
Right.
We created fire. Right? We created automobiles instead of horse and buggy. Right? We created planes. We created the internet. We're always creating things, and every time we create a tool, it it frees us up from some of the physical manual activity that we've had to do so we can apply our energy into different domains that are more expansive,
Yeah.
more rewarding. Um, every time we bring in a tool, there's a replacement factor. So it goes back to what we said earlier, right? I can either stay petty, petite, comfortable within. I don't want a new tool to expand. It's going to expand my life, but you know what? I like my life small, so I'm going to fight against the tool. But eventually, we begin to learn how to take in the tool and use it, and it enhances our lives. Right?
Yeah.
AI is no different.
Okay.
It looks different, but it's really no different. It's just another tool. Now,
I don't think I'd consider it that way.
Google
I hadn't considered it that way.
Google came along and helped us do research much more efficiently.
They did because we were using Encyclopedia Britannica before. I've been around long enough for that transition. Okay.
Now, there was a bunch of people who were impacted
Mm-hmm.
by the replacement. I mean, there was a whole bunch of researchers that spent their lives
Yes.
knowing it, knowing how to navigate libraries and research centers and encyclopedias and all of that. And then Google came along, Wikipedia came along, and there were some people who were impacted by it.
Yeah.
And there was a whole bunch of people that benefited by it,
Yeah.
right?
For sure.
AI is coming along and it's going to do the same thing.
Yeah.
But it's also going to change things, right? Because the normal mental model of how we behave in the world is going to be different.
Yeah. How so?
So we have to expand that mental model again to absorb AI into its effectiveness. Every tool that's come along has always presented mankind with challenges.
For
How do
sure.
we how do we not let the tool take over our lives? Is always a come, you know. Um, when cars came around, there was a whole thing about, but you're losing the connection with horses, and there's a relationship with horses, and now it's just going to be this mechanical thing. And now that we have uh, robot taxis, people are going, but I'm going to miss the relationship with the people. Or when we had ATMs, God, what happened to my teller? I used to see my teller all the time, and
Yes.
yeah,
True. True.
there's
These are all things.
always changes that we have to adjust to. You
Yes.
can't get away from that.
And I think what we forget is that, because, like, for instance, if back in 2005, if I were to say, yeah, I'm going to be a social media influencer, we were going to ask you, what does that even mean? But now we're like, okay, so what's your platform? Let's follow you. Well,
Yeah,
what's your following? Things like that. Now that is such it had to be integrated into our reality
that's right.
in different ways.
And it takes time. Now, I
Yeah.
will say AI is presenting some new challenges because of its ability to deal with greater levels of complexity and the speed by which it's being implemented and
Okay.
being adopted. So, we have to step up as humans and make sure we don't give over our lives to the tool, whether that was social media, whether that's AI. We're always faced with this challenge.
I,
And so,
I think we've already lost that war.
and so again, we're invited into looking at what it means to be a human, what it means to be contributing to life,
Yeah.
and the things we may have said, this is where our value is, says, okay, now what's my next level of value? How
Yeah.
do I step up differently?
What is my
Um,
next level of value? Okay. It's a good question.
and the same thing applies to organizations. It when we went from mainframe computers to desktop computers, we had very similar conversations.
Yes, I remember that. Yes, for sure.
And then when the internet came along, we had the exact same conversations going on. So we're always, as a society, as humans, as organizations, always looking to how do we do it now. If we have the mental model, the way we frame it, if we frame it as one component being replaced by another component, that's really, really devaluing. But
Mm,
if we frame it as this tool enhances these people's capacity to contribute more, how do I integrate that together?
yeah,
That's the right conversation to have.
I love that. I love that. Definitely have to keep thinking bigger and allowing yourself to expand mentally. I love that. I absolutely love that. What advice would you give the to today's entrepreneur? What would you tell them to do? What's your golden rule for them?
Well, it's interesting you asked that because it became a question. Well, what does it mean to be a leader in today's world?
Okay.
If you look at it from the point of view of I'm taking over responsibility for the success of this collective of people, whether I'm starting out fresh and going to build it, or whether I've inherited an organization and been promoted to CEO. Um, and the question is, what do I do? How do I behave as a leader to ensure this collective of people uh, are, are successful collectively and individually? And the thing that I've come to as part of thinking of it as a living person is very similar to how do I raise my child to be a successful adult?
Yeah, I love that.
And one of the key elements I learned through my journey of parenting is the world of humans does not fit nicely into the world of science.
Say
And I
that one
mean,
more time.
the world of humans don't fit nicely into the world of scientific thinking. What I mean by that is science is all about objective, objectivity, double-blind studies, prove it, make it work, it's logical, show me the results, peer-reviewed journals,
Yes.
and
Prove it, prove it, prove it.
prove it, prove it. So everything is the head. Since the Industrial Revolution, we have overemphasized the power of logical thought.
Ooh,
I don't dismiss that.
okay.
But there's another part that the human life has, and it's everything we were talking about: the energy fields, the magic, the subjective world that we live in, the thoughts and beliefs we have. And so I think in today's world, what leaders need, and the advice I would give to entrepreneurs, is learn how to work with the head and the heart.
Mm. And the
Balance
gut.
the gut, the subjective world, the feeling state, the instinct, the intuition, the inspiration,
So,
the
fun
wisdom.
fact, the majority of the hormones that impact your emotions happen in the stomach.
Yes.
So, if we're talking about fight or flight and cortisol production and regulating your nervous system, that happens in the belly. So,
Well, there's actually three centers of information that we
yep.
process. There's the head,
Mm-hmm.
the belly,
Mm-hmm.
and the heart.
Yes, sir.
And there's been a lot of studies, and I don't know if you're familiar with the work at Heart Math Institute.
Oh, tell
If
me
you
about
haven't,
it.
you should
Listen.
check out Heart Math Institute. If you haven't followed their work, it's pretty amazing. They've actually pioneered the work on what's now relatively accepted called heart coherence.
Ooh.
And it has, yeah, you should really check them out. Um, so let's go back to the theory of the antenna of energy.
Yes.
So information comes into us through three paths. One is our senses,
Mm-hmm.
right? We pick up information and it's energy. The hearing centers take vibrational energy we call sound and make sense out of it and create words out of it and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Our eyes and the optical system takes in light energy, light waves, and associates color with it and patterns and knows what a tree is and what a table is and all of that. Um, so that's one center.
Yes.
Um, Another center, as you said, and there's actually research done by a professor at Pittsburgh. I referred to this in my book. I think it's Dr. Gershon or something like that. Um, he actually measured the fact that the gut has a brain, just like the head does.
It sure
And
do.
we pick up signals in the gut.
Mm-hmm.
Heart Math Institute has discovered or found that um, the heart also has neurological processing centers, and that it is picking up energy waves of what's happening there. Now, this sounds all nice and woo-woo and semi-scientific,
Good. I'm eating
but
this.
but we all have we all have this experience. Walk into a room, nobody says anything. You walk into a room and you can feel the energy of the room.
Yep. Yep.
That's coming to you through the heart.
Yep.
And
Or let's say you're about to go and do. Oh, I love this movie, Creed with Michael B. Jordan. Oh my God, he's so handsome. But before his big fight, the first time he was big fight, he was like, he was all ready to walk out the door, and he said, "Take my gloves off. I have to use the bathroom." That was a flood of cortisol disrupting his digestive system. And I once I saw that movie, I was like, oh, that's the fight or flight. That's the chemical nature of fight or flight.
before the chemicals gets triggered, the body is actually receiving the energy.
Yep.
I don't remember which Eastern philosophy said this, but one of them talk about the stages of processing. The first is the raw experience.
Mm. I
The
love.
second is the awareness of that experience.
Okay.
The third is the story we tell about that experience.
The process.
The fourth is the decision to behave according to that experience. And
Mm.
so what we lose as we build up these mental models is to stay tuned into that experience as it exists before we start framing it. And again, we usually experience that as we call them emotions. Right? You walk into the room, you sense something energetic about what's going on in the room, and you give it a label like it's or people are happy, or people are sad, or people are anxious, or people are depressed.
Yeah.
Um, but before you give it a name, there's an energy that you feel in the body that comes through the heart.
Mm-hmm.
The Heart Math Institute actually says that the heart is communicating to the brain more than the other way around. So the heart is actually giving the brain instructions on what to produce hormonally that causes the reactions we have.
That makes sense.
So if we learn to cultivate heart-centered wisdom is what we call it, and balance head and heart, or as you like to say, head, heart, and gut, um, we're much more effective in the world.
Yes.
So back to your question, what would I teach young entrepreneurs starting out?
Just a little of this and a little of that.
Develop your ability to be heart-centered.
Okay. And it sounds like the phrase I'm hearing is you have to learn to listen to yourself mentally and physically. And I
And
think our
emotionally.
culture and emotionally, and our culture teaches us that I can think of so many references that are influencing you to do the exact opposite. I can attest, I'm a witness. I stand and I attest to this. The more you listen to your body is constantly communicating. And what I'm learning more is that the brain is lying a lot, but the stomach is telling you a lot of things you need to hear. You know, that, ooh, I'm getting a little queasy here, or, oh, my heart is racing, or those are, I think, I'd never put it into the context that you've given me today, where the communication isn't going top down, the communication is going bottom up sometimes. But we
Yeah,
have to decipher which communication needs to be the loudest and the most responded to, for sure.
yeah, yeah. The heart gives us the insight. I say, the gut gives us the instincts, the head gives us the logic, but the heart gives us the wisdom.
Mm-hmm. It does. I love this. Where can we? Because listen, we can keep talking for the rest of the day. I'm having a great time, and I feel like I'm going to
Thank
hold
you.
you hostage. Uh, how can we maintain contact with you, Norman Wolfe? You have one book that we can purchase. Tell us where we can find
Well,
it and your new
I'm
release.
on LinkedIn, so you can find me on LinkedIn, obviously. Best way to reach me is through my website, quantumleaders.com,
Yes.
or you can also reach me at my email directly. It's NWOLFE, Wolf at quantumleaders.com.
This has been a pleasure. I sometimes with the episodes, we're very business based, and I love that because this is energy is your currency. So you definitely have to make some money off of this. But you have given us such plain context on
Well, thank
a
you.
lot of the things that people are paying millions and spending their whole lives trying to get access to. And I appreciate the wealth of knowledge. I genuinely do. You make me want to, I'm going to finish reading my David Hawkins book. I have one that I'm in the middle of reading, so I got to finish that up. Um, but I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation with you. This
I
has been
appreciate it.
amazing.
And do check out my book, The Living Organization. I think you'll really enjoy it.
Oh yeah, we're ordering. Can we order that on Amazon and have it delivered?
Amazon,
Yes.
Amazon.com. So
And what's the name of your next book? You still have.
it's called Leading the Living Organization.
Okay, and that comes
And
out September.
September 1st is the projected release date. And uh, we're beginning to write the third book, which is Creating Results for Living Organization. Okay?
Okay, I have 3 books I'll be reading this year.
Yeah, yeah. It'll be wonderful. Thank you so much, Alexis.
Thank you, Norman. I don't think you understand. You have blessed me with an amazing conversation today. I am so grateful.
My
So, for
pleasure.
y'all listening, to check out this episode over and over and over again, which I strongly recommend, You can go to the website, Blush Biz Online. You can find the videos, find the all of the platforms were listed, Spotify, Apple, and Amazon. Or you can check us out on YouTube. All of the episodes will be on YouTube shortly. So there'll be plenty of ways to keep this conversation alive. Because people need, the entire reason I made Energy is Currency is because of conversations like this. Yep. Yep. So you get exceeds expectations from this performance review.
Well, I'm really thankful you had me on. It's always a pleasure to
Oh, thank you
have these
so much.
conversations.
I
Yeah,
would love to follow up with you. To follow up with you after your next book release. We'll have you back.
yeah, I'd love to come back.
Yeah. Yeah,
Maybe
hear
just
more
as
about
the
leading this. Yes, for sure.
we'll talk all about the leadership skills. That's what the second book is about, the leadership skills to actually be able to do the things we just talked about.
Yes. Okay. Well, we're going to reconnect before the end of this year. I'm excited for this.
Uh,
Thank you again, Norman.
Thank you, Alexis.
Okay. And don't forget, your energy is always your currency. Okay.